Mr. President, in one of your Mother's Day tweets, you appeared to accuse President Obama of the biggest political crime in American history by far. Those were your words. What crime exactly are you accusing President Obama of committing, and do you believe the Justice Department should prosecute him?
Obamagate. It's been going on for a long time. It's been going on from before I even got elected, and it's a disgrace that it happened. And if you look at what's gone on, and if you look at now all of this information that's being released, and from what I understand, that's only the beginning. Some terrible things happened, and it should never be allowed to happen in our country again. And you'll be seeing what's going on over the coming weeks. But I wish you'd write honestly about it, but unfortunately, you choose not to do so. Yeah, John, please.
What is the crime exactly that you're accusing him of?
You know what the crime is. The crime is very obvious to everybody. All you have to do is read the newspapers, except yours.
On this episode of Just Informed Talk, we're going to take a look at the latest new Q posts, and we have to look at this Russian scam and how it was exposed. Because the evidence that's coming forward on a daily basis through the declassification of these scam FISA warrants is showing that the Democrats not only lied in Congress, but then they used their complicit accomplices in the fake news media to spread propaganda and disinformation that was created by the Russians in order to willfully and knowingly subvert democracy in the republic of this great nation. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more, so stick around and check it out. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I'm your host, Craig. You guys know I say thank you if you hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't done it yet, I mean, it's really easy. It helps channel out big time. I'd really appreciate it if you guys would just come here, click the big red subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications. Then you got to select all so you get notified as soon as all of these videos get posted. With that, we're picking up right where we left off. We left off at 42:21, picking up at 42:22. And today's a huge day, guys. We have major breaking news coming out of the NSA as they're exposing who was doing the unmasking inquiries in the Obama administration. And it seems that there were top cabinet officials and top intelligence officials who were working to unmask General Flynn, which gives credence to everything that we've talked about on here about this being a coup and a scam and a hoax that was set up to undermine President Trump's ability to effectively administer his administration's policies, and an attempt to actually launch a coup from inside, a silent coup against President Trump. So this is a big day today with major information. We're going to get into that first. I just want to let everybody know this video is brought to you in part by Brave Browser. If you want to help make a contribution to this channel and get a great product for free today, you need to download the Brave Browser. It's a better internet browser, better than Google Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari, whatever you're using. And you can download it for your desktop, your laptop, your smart device, your cell phone, whatever. It's going to give you a better internet browser because it's going to block the ads, and it's going to give you a bunch of other unique features that no other browsers have. So you should check out this product using the link in the description. Download it for free today, install it and run it, and then they'll make a contribution. So it's a win-win. So check out the Brave Browser today. Now, we're going to get into the latest Q post 4222 here, and it's Q giving us this picture, a screenshot, I think, where it says cameras on, masks on, cameras off, masks off, Q. So remember, everybody wants to say, and we talked about this yesterday, oh, well, the president's not there anymore, so they take the masks off. Well, it's not that. The point is, they're just virtue signaling for the world to say, oh, look at us, we're so good, we're wearing our masks. If they really believe the stuff that they're pushing about this, the actual threat of this virus, then they should be having their mask on all the time. I mean, how many of you watching this video, when you go out, wear a mask just because you're trying to be cautious? Maybe you have some of the comorbidity, or you're a little older, or you have some sickness or something that makes you a little more worried about it, right? Do you just take off your mask as soon as, something happens? I mean, is there a camera that turns off and then you go, oh, well, I guess I'm safe now? No, but these people do. And that's something we're being pointed to look at, and I think it's a fair point to make. So the next post here is this Katie Pavlich tweet, which talks about the overwhelming majority of people recover from this virus. This is a quote from Dr. Fauci himself. Think about that, though. If the overwhelming majority of people recover from this virus, and the actual infection rate is seemingly far lower than what they said it was initially, and that the rate of the transmission and the spread is far lower in certain other states. How is it that we have some guy, right, in his little office in Washington, D.C., telling the whole country what they should do in lockstep, meaning that there is no difference between rural Nebraska or rural Kansas and midtown Manhattan or downtown LA, Skid Row? They think that we're stupid. They think that we actually believe them when they say, you know, this has to be a blanket thing. You're like, well, is there a difference between, I don't know, rural southern Colorado and, you know, downtown Detroit? Well, maybe there is a little bit of a difference, but they don't want to talk about that. They want to continue to sell this virus as being the end all for you to give up all of your rights and give up all your freedom to some unelected, bureaucratic, tyrannical little munchkin named Dr. Fauci, and we're all just supposed to go along with it. Like, this is perfect. This is great. I don't know about you. I don't remember swearing an oath or allegiance to Dr. Fauci and Dr. Birx, but maybe some of you out there did. I didn't. And I don't see it anywhere in the Constitution that it says, in case of emergency, Dr. Birx and Dr. Fauci are your new supreme commanders. I don't remember reading that part, but maybe there's a clause or something that I missed. And, that's really what that is. And Q wanted us to look at that, so we looked at it. The next one here is very interesting, right? So President Trump's even tweeted out this Technofog account before, and even recently, but an Anon puts this up there telling us to look at the Flynn update, looking like Judge Sullivan will allow for public comment. Judge Sullivan, a minute order, anticipating that individuals and organizations will seek to file briefs for the benefit of the court, right? And it goes out as an order from the court that was overseen by Judge Sullivan after they had a notice of the consent to government's motion to dismiss, right? So the government's motion to dismiss this case, meaning the prosecutors are dropping the charges, and the defense has accepted this, presumably because they know that General Flynn is innocent, and this is what they were trying to do when they were trying to request the Brady material, which is the exculpatory material that proved beyond a reasonable doubt that General Flynn was set up by this FBI in some sort of criminal conspiracy, right, to get him fired, and then ultimately apparently take him to court and try to get him arrested and put in jail, right? Think about this, though, and this is something, Alan Dershowitz, which whatever you think of him, it's neither here nor there. He's obviously a scholar when it comes to constitutional law, and the way he explains it here is quite appropriate, right? Saying if this judge has the gall to not throw this out, he ought to be impeached, right? He's talking about that Judge Sullivan, and I'll read this, it's really quick. It's from the Gateway Pundit. I think this is Joe Hoft. The Gateway Pundit Joe Hoft saying, Judge Sullivan, who oversees the General Flynn case, should be impeached. He is violating his oath in the U.S. Constitution if he does not throw out the Flynn case, which both sides agree should be dismissed. So I guess Alan Dershowitz got on and said this. If this judge has the gall to not throw this out, he ought to be impeached. Remember that judges only have jurisdiction for cases and controversies. There is no controversy here. Both sides agree this case should be dismissed. This judge has no power to do anything else, and if he asserts that power, he has violated the Constitution. Now, this goes right in line with what Q is telling us to look at, right? Dershowitz is right. It says here later in the article, saying Congress no longer impeaches judges who cost the country money and steal justice from the innocent. Those who do should be impeached. And what this is ultimately saying is that this judge is stalling, trying to keep this case alive. For what reason, we're not sure, but we know it has everything to do with the evidence that was discovered in it. And now, we're going to talk about this in a minute. Q's given us more information that's been released by the NSA, mind you, about who was doing the unmasking with regard to General Flynn from the Obama administration. And that's going to tell you everything you need to know about where we're at today, right? So Q tells us here, though, gives us this Yahoo News article where it talks about Obama says in private call that the rule of law is at risk in the Michael Flynn case. Well, wouldn't you know? So Obama is telling us that the rule of law is at risk when we know now that his administration and his intelligence officials were the ones who were trying to set up this general for a political attack, right? To try to get him fired and, or in this case, arrested and put in jail, because Flynn knew where the bodies were buried. Flynn was going to help President Trump expose them. Flynn was going to be the man who stepped up and exposed this whole criminal cabal that had been working for decades right beneath the nose of the American people. And Q says this: did you listen carefully? Subject Flynn, topic rule of law at risk. Can you prosecute without prosecutors? No. Can you extend in the public arena to push a coordinated narrative? The swamp runs deep. Q. So this is why the judge won't just dismiss the case, because they have to have this still in flux so they can get on the fake news. And as we're exposing them, as we're literally laying out the declassification, which is exposing their hoax scam against President Trump, they can say, well, look, the judge won't rule on this case. So Flynn is probably still a bad guy, right? No. What it is you have corrupt judges who are trying to protect a corrupt system which was illegally used to go after a sitting president to launch a silent coup. And if you read it any other way, please leave your thoughts down below. But that's just my interpretation. So the next one here is this Forbes.com article talking about hydroxychloroquine and saying that the number of prescriptions exploded in France. So let me ask you something, right? If this drug doesn't work, why is it being prescribed in mass? Why do the actual doctors who are out in the world, healing these people, why are they prescribing it? Or, I mean, maybe there's just a massive outbreak of malaria in France, or rheumatoid arthritis, or whatever else this stuff's used for. But I highly doubt that. I actually believe that it's far more likely that this may work in healing that disease. I don't know, because I'm not a doctor and this isn't medical advice. So don't go out and start drinking your fish's toilet cleaner or whatever. Just listen to me. Hydroxychloroquine is something that the president's talked about with azithromycin, or I can't say that anyway, and the Z-Pack. That this is a treatment that people have said works for a lot of people out there who are getting this virus. So, I mean, just one has to start asking the question, why does the media cover this up? Why don't they talk about it? Why aren't they reporting on it? Is it because they want to spread panic? Is it because they want more people to die so they can use it to try to hurt this country, hurt the people of this country, to affect the 2020 election? This is a question that we are legally allowed to ask, as far as I last checked, given our First Amendment. But according to a lot of these big tech fascist censors and a lot of the censors that exist in the fake news media, you can't even ask this question. You can't even go down this route, because for whatever reason, you fill in the blank. You tell me down in the comments why nobody will talk about this or nobody wants to talk about this. And when we get that answer, maybe we'll find out a lot more about where we're at. The next post here, and this is from Q, showing us that there was special approval, and this is from 2018, August 31st, when Q told us about this. So Q is telling us right here, look, special approval, and it gives this string of numbers here, setup example 1, and then it gives a link to the Homeland Security confirming the special entry visa, which was required for Veselnitskaya to enter the country. So Loretta Lynch knew that Veselnitskaya was coming into the country, and if they thought she was a Russian asset, why didn't they stop her from coming in the country? Oh, let me tell you why they didn't. Because Natalia Veselnitskaya, who, mind you, became the infamous Russian Russian connection that the fake news went with for years to try to set up this false narrative that Donald Trump Jr. was having these private meetings with Russia. Remember, Natalia Veselnitskaya, she was allowed into this country. They were monitoring her because they thought she was a Russian agent. So then they used the connection between Don Jr. and to go after Manafort because they let her into the country. But mind you, Natalia Veselnitskaya was having meetings with the DNC or the Democrats the day before and the day after the Donald Trump Jr. meeting. But the mainstream media doesn't talk about that. I don't see them issuing FISA warrants to start investigating the Democrats, the DNC or the Democrats who were having meetings with the Veselnitskaya person, this Russian connection, right? But they use that as the vessel. They let this woman in the country who they think is a Russian agent. They ignore the fact that she's having meetings before and after Donald Jr. With Democrats and DNC officials or operatives. And then they use that as the predicate to go after Manafort through pushing this whole Mueller investigation of Manafort, Papadopoulos, Page, and then Flynn. So keep that in mind. And we knew this back in 2018. Q goes on to give us this blue sky Twitter post, right, where it says Judge Sullivan resides in the same court as the FISA court. Here he is with James Boasberg and Rosemary Collier, who both signed the FISA warrant. Judge Contreras, Flynn's first judge, had to be removed from the case because of his personal relationship with Strzok. So these are the FISA court judges, right? And these are the people who were approving this illegal spying on President Trump, predicated off of unverified fake intelligence that was manufactured, really, a dossier that was manufactured presumably by Russian agents who sold it to the Clinton campaign, who then gave it to the FBI. Yeah, go imagine that. So Q's reminding us, we've known about this for so long, but Q says, excellent fine anons, but you must go back before you can go forward. Well, what does that mean? It gives us this Reuters article talking about the judge presiding over Michael Flynn's criminal case is recused. Remember, this is the one Contreras who recused himself, that Q just pointed out, saying, why did the U.S. District Court Judge Rudolph Contreras recuse? And then it gives this FISA court link, which talks about the date exactly that these judges were put in place. Fascinating. So this was an Obama designated FISA court judge. Well, that's something, because it's under Obama's term, right? May 19th, 2016. But more importantly, when you look at his actual page here, it talks about his nomination by none other than Barack Obama in July of 2011. So remember that. Then Q says, Judge Rudolph Contreras is a current member of the FISA court. Who signed the Flynn FISA? The swamp runs deep. Q. So who did sign the Flynn FISA? Oh, Contreras did. That's why he had to recuse himself from Flynn's case, because he was the same corrupt judge who took the unverified intelligence and signed off on it and gave a corrupt Obama Hussein administration the authority to weaponize the intelligence surveillance apparatuses in order to go after their political opponents, seemingly. That's what we're continuing to see here today. The next one here talks about Breitbart.com article, and it gives first this post, right? This is an older Q post from back in, April 30th, 2020. So, Q says this. Was the DNC hacked by Russia, CIA Brennan Force, Seth Rich, internal download, hand-to-hand pass USA, CrowdStrike, code insert, if FBI chain of command was corrupt, what other investigations were corrupted? Why did they provide cover for? How far did it go back? So, and then Q says the error was made twice, but think about that, right? How far did this go back? And what were they really covering up? And why were they going after Flynn? What piece of information did he know about all of this right here, right? The DNC hacking of the emails, what Brennan was doing, the download and the hand-to-hand pass that was internal, possibly, coming from, you guessed it, Seth Rich, not Russian hackers. Think about it. Ask these questions. These are the questions that matter right now. Then Q gives us this Breitbart article talking about John Brennan suppressing intelligence, saying Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win. This is just coming out now, May 12th, 2020. So the other day, Fox News' Ed Henry reported Tuesday evening that Acting Director of National Intelligence Richard Grenell has declassified information calling into question the conclusion that Russia interfered in the 2016 election to help Donald Trump. Henry told Tucker Carlson on Tucker Carlson Tonight that the new information would suggest that John Brennan, who headed the Central Intelligence Agency under President Barack Obama, also had intel saying, actually, Russia wanted Hillary Clinton to win because she was a known quantity, she had been Secretary of State, and Vladimir Putin's team thought she was more malleable while candidate Donald Trump was unpredictable. You think? Do you think? Yeah, I think so. This makes perfect sense. Then they quote Fred Fleitz here saying, in his similar claim from FoxNews.com from April 22nd, saying, House Intelligence Committee staff told me that after an exhaustive investigation reviewing intelligence and interviewing intelligence officers, they found that Brennan suppressed high-quality intelligence, suggesting that Putin actually wanted the more predictable and malleable Clinton to win the 2016 election. Instead, the Brennan team included low-quality intelligence that failed to meet intelligence community standards to support the political claim that Russia officials wanted Trump to win. House Intelligence Committee staff revealed they said that CIA analysts also objected to including that flawed substandard information in the assessment. So maybe there were a few good men and women, and possibly Q is 100% right that 99% of these organizations are filled with patriots. I'd like to believe that, but it really shakes your faith in these organizations, especially the clowns in America, when you have people like this facilitating the wholesale corruption of an entire agency at the behest of a corrupt political presidential administration who are using the surveillance tools that they've been given this access to spy on their political adversaries, to gain a political advantage. Is that, I mean, at what point do you on the left not, I mean, because I want to talk to everyone. It's not a left or right thing. Even if you're on the left and you're a liberal, I mean, it's almost impossible for you to look at this and think, yeah, that's fine. Totally cool. No worries. Unless you really want to live in a police state and you really want to live in some, alternate version of George Orwell's 1984, which is where we're pushing toward at this very moment. Just FYI. Yeah. Q says Russia narrative all fake. Yeah. Oh, probably. Yeah. Q. So the next one here is President Trump. So again, another example of a message being put on the boards, a request, and President Trump satisfying that request, right? Via the Q team. So somebody on the boards on the 11th, right, a few days ago, said, hello, sir, Q+. Is it really happening? Can you tweet it? Thank you, boss. The next day, Q+, President Trump tweets out, our testing is the best in the world by far. Numbers are coming down in most parts of the country, which wants to open and gets going again. It is happening safely. And then Q links us to this post right here by Catherine Herridge, giving us the scoop that CBS News has obtained from Richard Grenell, which seems to identify the people who were unmasking General Flynn, who were making these requests to unmask General Flynn between late 2016 and 2017. Let's see who's on this list, right? Let's see some of the names here. Oh, Samantha Power, James Clapper, John Brennan. Very interesting, very interesting. We also have some interesting other people, such as the next one here, which is the chief of Syria Group, whose name's been redacted. Again, the chief Syria Group name redacted. James Comey from the FBI. Wow. The U.S. ambassador to Russia. And not to mention, finally, Joseph R. Biden. You guys also know him as the former vice president of the United States of America. So they were all in on it. They all knew. They all knew about the unmasking. They knew that there was no evidence. There was no there. They were using unverified intelligence to use the intelligence system to do this political partisan attack on President Trump and his campaign. And this is the evidence that we're seeing now that proves it. But the mainstream media, they won't talk about it. They'll spin it and say, oh, well, look, Judge Sullivan hasn't even thrown out the case yet because, he's a judge, even though there's no case and the prosecutors don't want to press charges, but he's going to keep it going. That's the level of insanity we've reached. Then Q gives us that and says, board under heavy attack, Q. All right, well, there you go. Interesting. The next post here, Q gives us this letter, right? What did D5 actually mean? D5, D is for the number 5, 4/5/2020. May 4th, 2020, the day that U.S. Army General Paul Nakasone, the head of the NSA, came out and released the unmasking identities of the officials who submitted or who were submitting requests to the National Security Agency at any point between November of 2016 and January of 2017. So think about it. We have this date being given to us by Q a long time ago about D5 being the major day, the declassification day, and it did come May 4th, 5-4, or 4-5, whatever you want to look at it. But there you go. They thought it was something else. Q says here, the Anon says D5 date on the ODNI release. And then Q says, excellent find, Anon. They thought it meant December 5th, state funeral. NSA, a lot more coming soon, Q. So remember, we heard this was going to be a big week. We're getting all the evidence laid out very nice and neat to show what these criminals did. And conveniently, it's all happening during the middle of a pandemic that they can use to change the entire news cycle, because the fact that this isn't running at the front of every news organization across this nation right now, that we had an internal coup put on against a sitting president that was orchestrated using unverified intelligence, and that they knowingly and willfully worked in a fashion and manner to deceive and manipulate the FISA court to abuse that intelligence apparatus and surveillance apparatus. But, you know, the fact that it's not on every TV in America is insane. This world is crazy. These people are sick and evil. They're liars. They will not tell you the truth. And they try to silence us on social media. They try to silence us, but through these big tech fascist organizations. And, you know, they'll never be able to silence us all. So the next post here that Q gives us is this one right here, where it goes through this document, right? Now, this is the Catherine Herridge release document that we just saw on the CBS News Twitter account from Catherine Herridge, but it highlights some important things. Below is a list of recipients between November 8th, 2016 and January 31st, 2017. This response does not include any requests outside the specific time frame, and Q looks at that from Anon. It says Payne. Q reposts this older post from May 12th saying, boom week ahead, treason doesn't pay well in the end, and simply says, this is only the start, Q. So I can only imagine what's ahead. But that's where I'm going to go ahead and leave it. A few more things before we go. Obviously, come here, watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out that way. And don't forget to leave your thoughts, theories, and insight below, because I want to hear what you guys have to think about all of this. This is why we do it. We basically have our own Q research board at the end of each one of these videos. So go down and check out the comments if you haven't done it yet. Great people, great conversation, and I look forward to reading through what you have to say about all of this. A few other ways you can help out the channel and find me over here on Twitter at JustInformYou. Also, you can find me at informed_news. And I have the website justinformednews.com. You can come check out. Got links to different news sites, breaking news, all the links to the Anon stuff, and the latest videos from the channel. So that's justinformednews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk. Go check it out. BitChute.com/justinformedtalk's the backup page. You can put that, bookmark it. And also there is the Patreon page, which if you guys want to help support the creation of content on this channel, please come over here and check out Patreon and consider making a monthly donation. You set it and forget it, and know that you're helping create content on this channel. I can only say thank you. You guys have kept this channel alive. YouTube and they've tried to put this out of business, right? And they've demonetized it. They've tried suppressing it with the algorithms, all that, but your support keeps it alive and keeps it growing. So consider making a donation. I'll leave a link to that. I also have a GoFundMe set up. If you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation, links to everything that we've talked about today will be in the description. Now, before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these episodes called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. And today, we're going to talk about a very specific verse. And that verse comes out of the book of 1 Peter. And it's in chapter 5, and it's verse 8 through 9. 8 through 10, I should say. And I want to share these verses with you because they're just profound, and they give us a good idea of what we should be focused on right now collectively. Be sober, be on the alert. Your adversary, the devil, is prowling around like a roaring lion looking for anyone he can devour. Resist him firm in the faith, knowing that the same sufferings are being experienced by your brothers in the world. Now the God of all grace, who called you to his eternal glory in Christ Jesus, will personally restore, establish, strengthen, and support you after you have suffered a little. To him be the dominion forever. Amen. And that's the truth. The devil is surrounding us every single day like a lion, tempting us and setting us up and creating adversity and creating roadblocks. And you have to have your faith in Christ above all else. And remember that the grace of God has called you to have eternal glory through Christ. And that salvation that we've been given by the sacrifice made on the cross by God's very own Son, Jesus Christ, is all a part of the grace that is greater that we've received. So share that with your friends and family and loved ones, and make sure you live that every single day, and be cautious and be weary of all this evil surrounding us, but know and trust that the Lord, God above, and Jesus Christ and the Holy Spirit will save us on our day of suffering. So that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. I want to say thank you for watching. Remember to come here, click the big red subscribe button if you haven't. Also hit it, punch it, tap it, reverse roundhouse kick it, whatever. Hit the like button. If you guys like this content and want to see me make more, that's it for me. Thanks for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.